Good evening, welcome to UTV Live. The Executive has agreed that Northern Ireland will operate a red list for international travel. In their weekly briefing, the First and Deputy First Ministers did not rule in or out people booking holidays this summer. They also said work was progressing on organising an hotel quarantine system for international travellers. Our Deputy Political Editor has been following developments and joins me now live from Dungannon. If there was good news today, Tracy, it is that the COVID figures are down.
That's right. All the indicators are going the right way, Paul. Both Arlene Foster and Michelle O'Neill saying they were pleased that there were no COVID deaths to report today. Also, the R number remains steadily below 1. Hospitalisations, ICU occupancy, all down. And crucially, the vaccine numbers are going up. Over 800,000 adults in Northern Ireland have been vaccinated. So yes, good news on that front.
Now tell me about that other announcement today on international travel.
Well, what has been decided by the Executive is they're going to operate the same system that is being operated in the rest of the UK and in the Republic, of a red list of countries. So anyone who travels in from a country on the red list will be expected to stay in a hotel at their own expense for 10 days. Now, they're in the process of scoping out which hotels are going to be used. Now, they also were asked about the comments that were made by the Health Minister yesterday at his press conference. He was asked whether or not he believes foreign travel is out this summer, and he said very much so. This morning, the Chief Medical Officer, Michael McBride, also said he believes that would be premature. It would be premature to book holidays. Now, today, the CEO of the City Airport, Brian Ambrose, issued really a very stinging statement criticising those comments from the Health Minister and the CMO, describing them as premature and unhelpful. He said the industry is waiting for what the government's task force on travel will report on the 12th of April. So when Arlene Foster and Michelle O'Neill were asked about that, they also seem to suggest that no definitive decision has been made on this issue of foreign travel.
As I've indicated, the Global Travel Task Force is reporting on the 12th of April. Our officials are working through that with other officials from Scotland, Wales and England. So we look forward to receiving that report. So my view is it's perhaps too soon to be booking your holidays, but it's also too soon to be ruling them out as well, because we haven't had that report yet.
I understand the public's frustration. I understand people's, wanting something to grab onto, and we hope to be able to give clarity when we can. Unfortunately, it's just too far out at this stage to be 100% guarantees, to give people 100% guarantees, because you can't do that in a pandemic.
Tracy, in the few seconds remaining, abortion was discussed today, briefly.
Well, it wasn't discussed as a paper. Desiree Hardy tried to get it on the agenda, and that was blocked by the DUP. Of course, this in the headlines because of Brandon Lewis's decision to legislate on this matter. Both were asked about it today. Arlene Foster very much sticking to her position, her party's position, that this is not something that Brandon Lewis should be doing. She said that he should back off.
Tracy McGee on the Hill of the O'Neill in Dungannon. Thank you very much. Well, as Tracy mentioned there, once again, the Secretary of State has been accused of undermining devolution by stepping in to introduce abortion services in Northern Ireland. The DUP MP, Carla Lockhart, raised the issue during an urgent question in the House of Commons. Vicky Hawthorne reports.
According to the Westminster Clock, the Northern Ireland Executive has had enough time to introduce abortion services, and moves this week by the Secretary of State to compel Stormont to implement laws has angered the DUP.
There is still time for the Secretary of State to think again before he takes action which will undermine and further destabilise the devolved institutions. Mr. Speaker, it is time for the government to recognise the errors of their way and repeal Section 9 and restore Northern Ireland's life-affirming laws.
Westminster changed the law on abortion in Northern Ireland when Stormont was collapsed. However, full services have not been set up by the Department of Health. The Secretary of State is now stepping in and insists he has a legal duty to act.
I have been informed of two other women, who have attempted suicide over the last year after their flights were cancelled and so they were unable to travel to England for proper care. The distress and unacceptable circumstances that women and girls continue to face at a time where local access should be readily available, given the law changed over a year ago, I'm afraid is unacceptable.
Some Conservative MPs have warned Mr Lewis's actions are putting the union at risk, but his move is also being welcomed.
I would stress that there is large-scale support in Northern Ireland for these actions. It's simply not tenable to have a right on paper, but not in practice, and for different reproductive rights to exist across the UK.
Health Minister Robin Swan maintains he cannot introduce abortion services without executive agreement. The Secretary of State is hoping local ministers can agree before this new Westminster process is completed. Vicky Hawthorne, UTV Live.
According to the DUP, a decision to fly the Union flag on government buildings all year round in Great Britain should be extended to Northern Ireland. The designated days policy has been scrapped by the government, but it does not apply here. The SDLP says there needs to be respect that we live in a shared society here. Jordan Motes reports.
Flag protests were less than 10 years ago. Weeks of violence and riots over a decision of Belfast City Council to limit the number of days the Union flag would be flown. That policy, called Designated Days, was broadly in line with the policy in the rest of the UK. But yesterday's decision at Westminster to fly the Union flag all year round has sparked the debate here once again. Calls for alignment, with the DUP pointing out it is a commitment in the New Decade New Approach deal.
The New Decade New Approach agreement covered a wide range of issues, and including issues around identity. And therefore, we can't on the one hand have some parties saying we demand this, we demand that, and at the same time refusing the implementation of elements of that agreement that are important to the unionist community. It is our view that since it's already agreed in principle that Northern Ireland should follow the same flags regulations as apply in Great Britain, and the New Decade New Approach agreement recognised that.
For some, it's a symbol of their Britishness. For others, it's a reminder Northern Ireland remains part of the UK. If there's one thing that highlights the deep divisions here, this is it. No surprises, not everyone agrees with the DUP's position.
We need to ensure that we respect the fact that we're a shared society and we are a distinct and different place. But I would just add that, Boris Johnson's English nationalist project in London is something that has real-world consequences here. Every time he bangs his fist and waves flags about, unfortunately, it has an impact on in this part of the UK, which is different from the rest.
The move at Westminster was meant to bring people together. If anything, it's shown how divided Northern Ireland still is. Jordan Motes, UTV Live.
People affected by the contaminated blood scandal in Northern Ireland say a government announcement on compensation does not go far enough. At least 100 patients here were among thousands across the UK infected with diseases like HIV and hepatitis C in the late 70s and early 80s. Gareth Wilkinson reports.
Infected patients continue to die. Every 3 days, somewhere in the UK, another loses their fight for life. Sinead O'Sullivan's dad, the latest local victim to pass away, buried in Derry City Cemetery after a life of suffering. 80-year-old Tony O'Sullivan was a haemophiliac. The condition causes uncontrollable bleeds. Products used to treat Tony in the 1980s were contaminated, contracted hepatitis B and C. Sinead is telling his story for the very first time.
He suffered mentally and physically. It was a lonely journey. I'm 41 years of age and I have never known Daddy to be healthy, ever. There was struggles every day.
The blood contamination scandal is the biggest treatment disaster in the history of the NHS. What happened is being examined by the Infected Blood Inquiry. Today, the government announced financial support for those affected will be levelled up right across the UK, and a review panel will examine how to pay compensation when the inquiry ends. This announcement's been made today. Just how significant is it?
It's a hugely significant day. It's the first time that the Department of Health and or the government have talked about compensation. So yes, that's the first time that has happened in 40 years.
UTV featured the stories of local patients infected in an up-close investigation. Marie Cromie contracted hepatitis C through a blood transfusion after childbirth.
My world just fell apart.
In the lead up to today's announcement, many speculated the government was on the brink of admitting liability.
We thought the government was just going to hold up their hands because, I mean, I don't know whether I'll be here to the end of the inquiry.
It's not what I had wanted. I wanted an apology. I wanted somebody to say that they did this to my daddy and they were sorry.
What happened to haemophiliacs in Northern Ireland comes under scrutiny at the infected blood inquiry next week. But if an apology is made, and if any answers are ever found, it comes too late for Tony and for many others. Garth Wilkinson, UTV Live, Derry.
Belfast Magistrates Court has heard that a surveillance operation targeting the South East Antrim UDA recorded suspects in alleged conversation about the supply of drugs. 4 Carrickfergus men arrested following raids in the town stand accused of conspiring to supply a Class A drug. A Crown lawyer alleged that Clifford Irons is 43 and from Shanna Avenue is the commander of the South East Antrim UDA, a claim rejected by his defence lawyer. Also charged were Daniel Vance, 33, from Glen Keane Drive, Glenn Burns, 38, from Moyard Gardens, and David Weir, who's 38, and from Rossmore Green. All 4 were remanded in custody. A leading cancer charity has described waiting times here as deeply concerning. The latest figures reveal that only 55% of patients with an urgent GP referral in December started treatment within 62 days. That's despite a target of 95%. The health minister said the pandemic had exacerbated waiting times, but improving them was a priority. Police say 2 crude devices found during searches in County Armagh were capable of causing serious harm. They were discovered following security operations in the Camla and Mahari areas. Northern Ireland kick off their World Cup qualifying campaign in Italy tonight. Captain Steve Davis will equal former England goalkeeper Peter Shilton's British record for international appearances. Davis wins his 125th cap.
When I was growing up as a young boy, I just wanted to play for my country, so I never imagined to be in this position, but it's always an honour to represent my country. We've got some good young players performing at a high level. It's a good opportunity for us to show what we can do against a really top-class team, and we know the record is very good here in qualification, so we know we're going to have to be our very best to try and get a result.
Stephen Kenny is still searching for his first win as Republic of Ireland manager. His side lost their opening World Cup qualifier 3-2 to Serbia. The Republic's 11-hour goal drought ended when Alan Brown put them ahead, but Serbia equalised before the break and added 2 more before James Collins' late reply. The weather's next. Here's Louise.
Come rain, hail or shine, you can always rely on the good things in life. UTV Weather, sponsored by Phoenix Natural Gas.
Hello there, good evening. Showers will continue over the next few hours before a band of heavy rain and gusty winds sweep eastwards across Northern Ireland. Very unsettled conditions are now in place across the whole of the country. This cold front will bring persistent heavy rain and gusty winds as it moves east overnight, with isobars remaining close together tomorrow, giving strong winds and a mixture of sunshine and blustery showers. Further rain is likely in places this evening before a band of heavy rain moves east across all parts overnight. Winds will become strong with colder air arriving, leading to a real drop in temperatures in comparison to today. Tomorrow we'll see further showers being blown in on increasingly strong southwesterly winds. The west is likely to see most of the showers, some falling as hail. There's also a chance of a little snow, especially over higher ground, but perhaps to slightly lower levels by evening. It's a similar picture across the rest of Ireland with occasional wintry showers, again most frequent in the west. The best of the drier weather and sunnier spells will be in more eastern areas. That's you up to date. Bye-bye.
Home means more when you discover and explore. UTV Weather, sponsored by Phoenix Natural Gas.
UTV Live is shorter because of the England international football match. Good evening.